With the mood congruence effect, we have seen that the emotions we feel influence the interpretation of a given situation. A positive emotion leads to a positive interpretation and a negative emotion to a negative interpretation. In addition to modifying our perception of the environment, emotions also influence the way we analyze the environment. That is, the way in which we process information that comes from the environment. In previous sections, we have distinguished between two different forms of information processing. Sometimes, the environment is analyzed in depth and detail. This type of analysis is cognitively costly and can be very time-consuming. Other times, individuals use judgmental heuristics, reasoning shortcuts, that allow them to interpret information with great speed, but at the expense of analytical accuracy. How do then emotions influence information processing? Research on this topic has focused on the study of three emotions: happiness, anger, and sadness. First, happiness increases the use of judgmental heuristics and reduces the tendency to analytically process information. For example, happy negotiators will be easily persuaded by arguments of their counterpart, regardless of the intrinsic quality of these arguments. They will also more easily rely on stereotypes or use external symbolic signs, such as product brand, in their evaluations. This lack of attention to details by cheerful negotiators also has its advantages. It allows them to be more mentally flexible and creative in problem solving. It also increases their capacity for perspective taking, and thus the ease with which they will come to mutually satisfactory agreements. Sadness, in contrast, produces the opposite effects in terms of information processing. Sadness is an indicator that a problem exists, and it motivates people to change it and to analyze situation in detail and depth. In other words, sad negotiators will be particularly attentive to the quality of the arguments provided to them. They will not fall into the trap of stereotyping, and they will be less sensitive to external cues, such as branding, in their evaluation. This way of analyzing situation in depth and detail can in some cases be problematic. It indeed prevents individuals from approaching problems in a more holistic way, and ultimately it reduces the likelihood of detecting integrative, more optimal and mutually beneficial solutions. Finally, anger. It is quite similar to happiness, in that, like happiness, anger increases the tendency to use judgmental heuristics. Like happiness, anger produces a less structured approach to problems than sadness, which makes it more conducive to the development of original and creative solutions. However, unlike happiness, anger tends to use up a lot of mental energy, which in the long term reduces the beneficial effects on creativity. What we can learn from this is that the emotion people feel modifies the way they process and analyze the information. Happiness in a distributive negotiation situation can be problematic because it makes the negotiator less attentive and therefore partly vulnerable to the exploitation by the other party. But in a cooperative and integrative context, happiness can be a significant asset in that it encourages creativity and perspective taking.